Hey guys, we're back with another episode. As you can see, our sunny weather is gone, but we're gonna continue on. My neighbor is nice enough to let me use this great little awning here so that we can work on the Kids El Camino. We need to get it sealed up today so that we can put in the new carpet and eventually the new upholstery. Having some leaks, typical ones that are very common for this G-body style car with the heater box, the way it's orientated, and the seam sealer just tends to let go after so many years of being heat cycled through winters and summers. So what we're going to do today is get that all cleaned up. We're going to get everything sealed up the best we can, and then throughout the next week or so I'll do some wet weather testing to see and ensure that we got all of the seams properly sealed so that we don't go and put in this new carpet kit and ruin it by getting it all wet. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's your standard G-body windshield cowl. So you got this cover here that goes over the bottom of the windshield. You got to pull the wipers and you pull this, and then underneath you've got a couple mounts. This tray right here comes out, and that gives you access to the heater box underneath, which is a known issue spot. Debris will build up down inside here at the bottom of the heater box where water is supposed to escape. You'll get debris in there, it'll backfill up, and then eventually get to a level where it pours in to the cab of the car and gets your floor wet. I've already cleared this, but we'll pull it again because I need to seal the top of this box and potentially the cowl area under all of this to make sure I'm not getting water in here before we put in the new carpet kit. Now you can see kinda see where there was some debris down there, but really hard to see. Sorry about that. But anywho, right down in that area there is a vent or a drain for the water. Usually this will get filled up, and then you eventually go in through this vent door, and it ends up going into the cab. You can see the old factory seam sealer around the heater box is pretty shot. Obviously, in my experience, this is where the water is going to be coming in at. So what we'll do is we'll clean all this off, get it nice and freshened up and ready for some adhesive, and we'll use some seam sealer, and we'll go along all these seams that are exposed on the top of the heater box, so as the water comes down off of the windshield, we don't go behind this and end up inside the cab soaking up the new carpet. Yeah, you can really see how dried out and brittle that is after 40 years of being exposed to the elements. So we want to get all that down to clean paint and plastic so that we can really clean this area. So when we apply the new sealer, it gets a good bond and will help us seal everything up so we don't have to, do this again in the next 40 years. And like anything else, you want to make sure you vacuum everything out, especially down in the box, because you don't want to introduce a bunch of new junk and plug up that drain hole like we just spent all that time cleaning out the other week. So make sure you're cleaning up. And now for these rust areas in the cowl, we don't want these to progress anymore. So I'm gonna use some 180 sandpaper. I'm gonna bring this all down to where most of the rust is gone. And then I'm not sponsored by Duplicolor or anything like this, but we do have this Rust Fix can, which I've never really had any issues with it after the fact. It seems to be a decent product and stops rust according to the can. So I'm going to use some of that to prep that after I get it sanded down, and then we'll wait until we've done all the seam sealer before we apply a new coat of flat black enamel to seal everything all up. And go ahead and use a stiff bristled wire brush to make sure we get all the little particles and little chunks left over around all the seams before we hose this all down with a solvent to clean any oils or anything away from it. All the way along the seam. I'm going to go all the way over to here, all around the box, down on either side, and then we'll let that air dry until the solvent is evaporated, and we'll put on our seam sealer. All right, now we're all dry, so it's up to you. I use the Napa brand seam sealer in gray. It's waterproof, seal seams, ideal for around wheel wells, trunks, floors, moldings. It remains flexible. You can use whatever's comparable at your local auto parts store, but this is what I choose to use just because it's local to me and it's not overly expensive. In lieu of me making this look like somebody blind put it on, I'm going to pause for a second and I'll come back once I've got it applied and we can look it over. All right. Still came out looking like I had a bag over my head and I couldn't see what I was doing, but the good news is that it's all sealed. Everything's tacking up and drying right now, so we're going to let that all set, and then I'm going to apply a coat of paint over the top of everything to seal it all up real good. Probably won't be till later on tomorrow or maybe even next weekend until this sets off right. But the good news about the ugly part is that's all going to be covered by the cowl seal, so probably have to buy a new one, but this will cover up 90% of it, so you won't really see any of that ugly, with the exception of what's going down the heater box right here. But once I scuff down the rest of the firewall and we put a fresh coat of paint on that to freshen it all up, it won't really be noticeable whatsoever. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I just don't want the water in the cab with that brand new carpet kit and new upholstery for the kid's car. Also, another spot to think about is down inside here. This seam right here usually has butyl where they kind of pinch the heater box into the firewall here, and that can become corroded and allow water in as well. So what we're going to do also is I'm going to clean this up the best I can, wipe it down really good, and I'm going to apply some more seam sealer in here to deter any water from getting in behind there as well and potentially rusting the firewall and whatnot. All right, there it is in all of its ugly glory, but at least it's sealed up and we shouldn't be getting any more water in that area. Let's clean up. All right, so we've pretty much gotten everything I wanted to do up front sealed up. You know, we're doing the thing here, and that's all done. And then we're waiting on other parts. But while we're waiting for this to dry, we're going to go and fix one other problem area that I noticed on the last El Camino I did. And this one seems to have the same issue, and that is in the bed. So this seam coming up here under the windshield trim, this always tends to crack, and you can see this one's pretty well beat. I've already been over on that side and treated and got that all filled in and taken care of. When I first got this car, I noticed behind the seat there's that cubby area. It was moist back there, so I know that it's been leaking in there. And if you remember in the first episode we showed this car, there was a good amount of I guess algae, mold, mildew, what do you call that? Moss. Yeah, moss growing. And that's because there was so much moisture getting in here, as well as the door seals and through that cowl area. So we'll clean this guy up too, and we'll get this all sealed up. And then hopefully you know, with any luck, that's going to be the last little bit of water getting into the cab. And on the next episode, I can get the kiddo out here, we can pull the seat, we can pull the carpet, we can check the floors, and hopefully the floors aren't totaled and don't need a bunch of extra repair work as far as rust is concerned. But yeah, let's get started on that seam. So I'm just going to use my trusty box knife, start cutting out as much of this old sealer as we can get out, and make us a clean starting point to backfill this with some new seam sealer. And here you go. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm looking right through that hole and I can see the light from inside the cab. So if that's any inclination as to how important it is for the seal to be good, then that's your one. All right, seam is all done, nice and thick down here. I'm not overly worried about what it looks like as far as how much overlap I have. This whole bed's going to get scuffed down, sanded, and eventually going to get rhino lined so the kiddo can have a nice clean bed and seal everything up so it doesn't continue to rust. But for now, looks pretty good. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up for today. Time to go in, have some lunch, and get around to some other projects I need to be doing around the house. Overall, good day today. Got everything all sealed up. Hopefully that's the bulk of our water leaks into the cab, and we can get ready to put in some carpet, new upholstery, do the headliner, new visors, all the good stuff that goes in the interior on another episode coming up soon. So until next time, I'll call her out.